Hello everyone and welcome to another Starcraft2 video. For this one we're starting a brand new series. This is going to be Starcraft2 related, although not exactly like my own gameplay. And it's going to be about what I've really been into the last few months. I probably spent at least as much time on this as I have playing Starcraft2, and that is the Starcraft2 competitive botting scene, where programmers write their own bots that play Starcraft2 and they compete against each other on a ladder and in tournaments. And yeah, I'll throw some links in the description to some of the past tournaments you guys have missed. And yeah, and I was kind of thinking like of doing some content on this on my channel, but I couldn't quite figure out how best to do it. Um, so this opportunity came up. The next season of ProBots is about to begin, which is the major tournament. And beforehand, they're going to have a little showcase, a little one-day stream where still muted. Still muted? No, not still muted. Okay, howdy cough. Yeah, they're going to have a one-day showcase where it's going to be like a one-day Gauntlet style tournament, and that's going to be for the top 8 bots. And what I mean by Gauntlet style is that number 8 is going to play number 7. And the winner of that goes on to play number 6, and the winner of that goes on to play number 5. So it's just going to be 7 matches, 7 best of ones. And I thought, what a great opportunity to introduce all the rest of the bots and to introduce you guys to the bot scene in a more not sure the word I'm looking for is, but in a progressive fashion. So we'll start from the beginning. And the nice way to start from the beginning is to start with the bots near the beginning of the ladder. So the bots right near down the bottom, a lot more basic. That'll set your expectations correctly. I know Laughing Games just finished his Alpha Star series, and then he started casting the Arbot games, and the viewers are like expecting Alpha Star and getting Arbot games, and obviously our bots are not anywhere close to that level. So I'm going to do the opposite of that. We're going to start with some very basic bots, and we're going to basically do the Gauntlet style tournament from 67 up. So our first 2 bots are going to be Newbie and Nickbot Zerg. Now I believe Newbie is actually based off of Nickbot, so this is this Python bot, which I guess he used Nickbot as kind of his reference. And this is by New Hope. And then Nickbot is by I believe Nicknock is his name. Yes. And yeah, this will be game 1 of the gauntlets on our trial. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. Winner will move on to play Empty Seat. Okay, so down in the bottom left, we have the Red Terran. It is Newbie. And in the top right, it'll be Nickbot version 1.5. He's already got a 0.5 advantage, apparently. And he is a blue Zerg. Even stating his updates, so added several new unit types, which will be interesting. Now, I know there is a version of Nickbot called Nickbot Learns, and this bot is using machine learning, actually, much similar to Alpha Star. Obviously, we are an individual developer who's probably maybe even learning machine learning for the first time, where Alpha Star was made by Google DeepMind, some of the top machine learning engineers working full-time and training the bots under, like, what was it, about 400,000 years of StarCraft2, I think it was by the end. And that was just for each agent. Let's get that production tab up there. So I'm not sure if this is machine learning or not. Maybe I'll get that verified in the future, but maybe we'll be able to tell by the gameplay. So Newbie probably has some sort of generic function to decide when to build supply depots, and it might be as simple as when you finish the supply depot, start the next one. And that could be why we have the 4 supply depot into barracks opener. Obviously a little non-standard, non-optimal, but it's better than not making supply depots, which could be what happens when you initially make a bot. 2 barracks are on the way. Meanwhile, Nickbot Zerg is taking his expansion. Pool is almost finished. This one's looking a little bit more standard up here. No gas as of yet. However, That is actually ideal for Zerg if they can get away with it without dying. This allows you to get your second and third base faster and allow you to get your queens out faster in doing so. Of course, you're giving up all your tech, you're giving up ling speed, which could be vital ingredients to staying alive. And as simple as this build looks out of newbie, this could end up working out because we do have 3 barracks on the way. It doesn't look like he has an orbital coded into the spot yet, so the economy is not going to get completely out of control. He may not turn off his SCV production either, so once you get to, well, even now at 23, you're probably not gaining anything by adding more SCVs on this mineral line. But with that said, against a gasless Zerg, you could get a lot of work done with a bunch of Marines. It doesn't appear that there's going to be any more supply depots. Nope, here's 2 more getting queued up. Okay, I wasn't sure if he was just going to build 4 and then max out on those 4 and go. But yeah, it made the 4. Probably whatever code decided to make depots realized that it did not need depots for quite a while. And only now, once he reached somewhat close to like 10 behind being supply capped, did he add more depots. Meanwhile, this gasless Zerg is now actually on 4 gases. Putting 2 in each gas geyser, which is smart because the third worker you put in the gas is not as efficient as the first 2. One of the cool things you can do with bots is constantly rotate how many workers you actually have in your gas to fit your resource needs. As a human, you can't like go around and say, okay, I'm going to move this gas geyser from 2 workers down to 1 and this one from 2 to 1. It just takes too much micro. But for a bot, it's no issue. You know, just keep switching between 0 to 3 workers as you your demands for gas rise and fall. We do have an expansion. Okay, so Nubia is a little more advanced than I suspected. Still no orbital, but with the expansion, we will have somewhere to put some of these extra SCVs to work. I'm going to be able to Maynard them over to the natural, double his income, and continuing at the barracks. Looking very much like the Halby, what do you call it? The mineral drill. One of the very best tutorial videos for a new StarCraft2 player. Just focus on the basics. Don't get supply blocked. Make Marines, make SCVs. And that alone can get you so far. You don't have to worry about drops and teching and all that stuff. As long as you're constantly improving your economy and constantly spending your money and keeping your bank nice and low, which both of these bots are doing quite well, then you can just win by having more stuff. So if we bring up the units tab here, we can see we're up to 25 Marines. On the other side of the field, it's only 6 slings and 3 queens, but a larger worker count and a third base. It does look like lings are being produced now, though, and excluding roaches. Okay, so both bots staying on a fairly low worker count. I mean, 43 isn't bad, but it's not great. He is still mixing in drones, so he'll eventually saturate these 3 bases, but for the moment he's well undersaturated. 13 on these minerals, 16 up top, and 2 over here, and then some on gas, but not fully maxed on gas. Creep spread is decent, getting moving out on the map a little bit. Creep is one of those things that bots can do extremely well, because you can just always have them create the next creep tumor as soon as the first creep tumor comes off cooldown. Placing it in the optimal position can be difficult to code, but coding it to always spread immediately as soon as it's available is quite a simple task. So in bot games, we will see very purple maps often, especially when we get up to the much higher level Zergs. So Newbie is taking his third base, adding more racks, sticking on the depots, marines, and barracks strategy. No gas required. Orbitals would definitely enhance this build a lot in terms of its effectiveness. Although I'm sure this is more just a proof of concept. Can I make a bot that can like do stuff? But yeah, orbitals are fitting quite well to this gasless style. So basically, we're kind of waiting to see who will attack first. I would guess one of the... What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. One of the things that will initiate the attack could be maxing out at 200 supply. Once you hit 200, just kind of A move so you can build more stuff. Meanwhile, Nickbot has gotten up to Infestation Pit and a lair. Couple spines, couple spores. Looks like one of each at each base. Kind of interesting place Hydralisk Den. Actually, if the den was just one to the left, it actually wouldn't be too bad. Like right here, doesn't that really interrupt your gas mining or your mineral mining, at least not too much. Creep is spreading across, and we have a fourth base out of the newbie. Does have an idle worker, unfortunately. Starting to mine out his main. 14 of 8 on these mineral patches. Unsure whether he has code or not to fix the saturation. If he does, he may not be doing anything because there's nowhere to put the workers right now. So we'll see what happens when this fourth base is done. Worker count is a solid 60 for newbie. Meanwhile, Nickbot has reached 70, which is a good number. As a Zerg, especially as a bot Zerg, you can go much higher, I think. And unfortunately, newbie was defeated, so I wonder if we can figure out what caused it. But something caused this bot to crash. All that workup for an attack which never happened. He's supply blocked. Not really obvious what actually happened here. Maybe he decided to attack, and that's where his code blew up. He's not supply blocked, so it wasn't about the supply block that caused it. But unfortunately, that will be the end of this game. Definitely a great first draft of this bot, though. I mean, a lot of bots just kind of like, when you first start, you make a depot, you make a barracks, you rally Marines across the map, and that's sort of it. Here we have, being able to constantly make depots, being able to spend all your money, making production as required, making expansions as required. So getting down a good framework for a good macro bot there. Meanwhile, Nickbot Zerg, opening up the units tab, had a whole ton of Zerglings and 3 roaches. So his army composition's a little odd, which makes me think maybe this is machine learning. But he's kind of getting a nice amount of tech. Hive is on the way. We got Spire upgrades going on. We got Evo Chamber upgrades going on. We got Roach speed. Interesting. So that is game 1, and unfortunately, newbie has taken a loss. So actually, if I just exit out this completely, let's just hop right into game 2. So game 2 will be against Empty Seat. Get out. Get out. It has a little bio, which is nice. The idea for MTC came as a result of noticing that many bots made what seemed to be weird mistakes that they'd be simple to prevent. So how hard can it be to make a bot that doesn't make such mistakes? Yeah, that actually is a lot of inspiration for making your own bot. When you see other bots play and you're like, it'd be cool if the bot did this. And I think I know how to code that. And then all of a sudden you're hooked. And that's all it takes. Predictably, it turns out to be much harder than it looks, which is also very true. I might avoid some mistakes seen in other bots, but so far that generally just means it ends up making different ones. At the time of writing, Empty Seat is still at a very early stage in its development. It's a random bot. Oh, is it? Oh, it plays random. That's cool. That is intended to eventually have a wide range of possible strategies. We will be seeing a bot that can do that called Mixed Breed, who is a bot by Fidelino. I think it probably has about 8 different strategies for all different races. All of them very cheesy, but all quite powerful. It seems to be seen, it remains to be seen whether it will at some point be able to compete with the highest level bots. Huh. Nice little bio. Okay, so we can hop into the next match now, which I have here. So it's going to be Nickbot Zerg versus Empty Seat. So Nickbot was looking pretty well rounded with his, maybe not with his composition, but definitely with his ability to expand and tech up. So despite being near the bottom of the ladder here, I don't think it'll be an easy task for Empty Seat. Let's see what happens here. And here we go. And let me stop because it's not showing up. There it is. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, so the competitor, or the new challenge on the top left is the red Protoss. It is Empty Seat. And still on version 1.5, it is the blue Zerg. Nickbot Zerg. So let's get that production tab up there. And we'll see how this one turns out. Hopefully we actually get to see a fight this time. Rather than 10 minutes with nothing. Ah, so Probe Scout. Which probably means he should have some very primitive, at least, scouting logic going on here. However, he scouted very early and then left, so don't know what that's about. I don't think he would even be in time to see a 15 hatch. He might have been in time to scout a pool, but he wasn't. So yeah, it was probably the start of scouting, which probably hasn't really implemented much. Because I think if he implemented more, like if he tried to make some decisions based off of scout, then he would have come later. But as I say that, he came back. And look at that, he's even stealing some minerals, and he does get to see the pool. So I take it back. He's actually going to get quite a bit of information here. Even going to catch the... No, does not catch the hatchery going down. But does get to see the pool timing, and now sees the hatchery. Meanwhile at home, we have a Duke Gateway opener into Cybercore. I think with bots, it's pretty smart to take a very aggressive stance or a very defensive stance to start the game, rather than something super greedy, because it's really hard to make a bot that is developed enough to be able to handle all different sorts of scouting, all sorts of different information, and handling all sorts of different cheese and situations. But it's very easy to make a bot that just does some sort of cheese. Like if you create like a 12 pool bot, all of a sudden you don't have to worry about 95% of the stuff in Starcraft2. All you gotta know is make lings and go. So for that reason, especially near the bottom of the ladder, it's, if you're gonna play a more macro game, it's nice to take your time and build up slowly, and that way you can survive all these different cheeses that come out at you. Nice little wall, and we got both an Adept and a Zealot, who are moving randomly. I wonder what causes these little movement patterns. The Scout Probe is still sticking around and has caught a lot of information. He's seen 2 of the gas geysers, he's seen the Roach Warren, he's seen the expansion. And now taking an expansion of his own. No warp gate on the way yet, which is interesting. And a Stargate. So, could this be a Sky Toss play? The lack of warp gate makes me think it could be. I remember during those dark times where there was no auto turret on Ravens and I had to main Protoss, I just went carriers, and when you go carriers, you don't even need warp gate. And in fact, it's easier to macro when you don't have warp gate, because you don't have to remember to warp things in. You can just queue stuff up. Creep tuners are starting out. Third base on the way. Burrow is interesting. I think Burrow is a fun mechanic to always add as a Zerg bot author, because then you can have each individual unit decide when it burrows. So for instance, say if a Banshee shows up here, then maybe all these drones can burrow. And then if the Banshee moves down here, then all these drones burrow and all these drones unburrow, or something like that. You can basically play whack-a-mole. Or even in a large engagement, every time one of your units gets low, you burrow it. So it's almost like perfect blink micro, except instead of with blink, it's with burrowing. So some of those things like a human can't pull off, but a bot can, which I think makes the upgrade much more powerful than one would suspect. We do have a Twilight Council on the way. Don't know what probe is trying to build that. Probably this guy here. All these random movements out of these units. Interesting. Yeah, excuse me about that. I just caught a cold. Stargate's been done for a while. No production coming out of it. Same with the robotics facility. So perhaps this bot is more about, let's just get all the different tech paths and then decide what to build based on what my opponent makes. Right, so if he's making Corruptors or Broodlords, then I'm going to add Void Rays. If he's making Roaches, I'm going to add Immortals. It could be something along those lines. There's another bot called Additional Pylons, which we'll be seeing later in this series. Very veteran bot, we'll say. Advanced. And one of the things it does is it basically builds its composition based off of what the opponent's doing. So he likes to do that, kind of open up all the available tech paths and then make decisions based on what you see. So quite another quite long game without any action as of yet, really. Nickbot Zerg is looking very similar to the previous game, a very high Ling count with just a splash of roaches combined, while expanding and getting his drone count up at a fairly decent pace. Crate spread could be better, for sure. It'd be nice to see like tumors added at new hatcheries so they can start spreading up this way and tumor here to start spreading that way. But the front line is definitely still moving forward, which is nice. Looks like we're getting a fourth hatchery out of empty seat here. Composition's looking very adept heavy, and which is normally a bad idea for later in the game, but when you're facing a Zerg who has like 3 roaches and 100 lings or something along those lines. Let's bring up the units tab here. Yeah, 80 lings and 2 roaches. Then adepts, especially resonating glaives, which I just saw, will do quite well. This will not allow... Man, that will not allow anything to get out, actually. That's a hard wall. That's a problem. I thought the stalkers wouldn't be able to fit through here, but I changed my mind and realized that nothing is going to be able to fit through there. Oh, no, wait. I think I just saw a Zealot run through. Did I see that correctly? I'm not sure. No, I didn't. This probe is trying to build that Stargates, and it can't. Yeah, and that probe just tried to build that gateway, and it can't. So this is a hard wall. So it's going to mess up his producing of units, or of structures. He's going to have to pick these SCVs to do so. Now he's trying to transfer workers. That's just not going to work. Fusion core can't get up. Actually, it can. The right probe is there. Just his units are all blocking it. Now it looks like these guys are attempting to move out, but they can't get out. So, one pylon to ruin it all. We do have a DT on the far side, but if we remember, Nickbot likes to get at least a spore at every base, so I think he'll be fine versus that DT. No spores as main or natural. Spire's done getting the +1 attack upgrade. No air units as of yet though. Up to 140 Zerglings. And no one wants to attack. Little does Nickbot know, but he can have 3 bases for completely free as the entire defending force is stuck. So the question is, will Nickbot attack towards the natural main base first? Bots somewhat are likely to do that, because they may not know where the opponent is, but they know where the opponent spawns. So if you just kind of attack towards their spawn, because really the only way I can see MTC having a chance here is if Nickbot kills this pylon or one of these gateways, and then it might release the flood. Speaking of floods, it looks like some of these units, the ones that were on the outside, attempted to come across, and they will all die off, but there's no detection for these DTs, so the DTs will get a little bit of work done. Oh, and there you see with the burrowed Zerglings. So that is how the burrow is being used. When a unit gets low, it burrows. Very interesting. Obviously that will only work if there's no observer involved. And yes, the attack is going into the natural, so Empty Seed is not dead yet. It looks like his 3rd and 4th bases could survive for quite a while, and if they survive while Nickbot breaks open the main base... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. No, the third base is going down, unfortunately. But with the solid wall, these Zerglings is not going to get much done. So what Empty Seat needs to do is kill all these Zerglings, but don't kill them so fast. Make sure they break in first. If they don't break in, then you're going to be in trouble. You already lost your 3rd. Let's hope the 4th stays alive. Like, probes are coming up here, which might drag them back out. These gateways have not even lost any shields. So it'll be a nice little mop-up of all these Zerglings. However, he was not able to break out. So 3rd base actually survives, loses the entire worker count, but that can kind of rebuild. So, I mean, this isn't extremely dire for Empty Seat. He just killed 120 Zerglings for free. He lost his natural. Well, technically he hasn't even lost his natural yet. But he still has the issue that he can't break out. If he could kill this pylon, he could probably move across the map and maybe even end the game, as he's got a massive army right now. 96, yeah, 104 army supply to only 86. And I'm sure that 86 is mostly Zerglings, which means it's actually not that powerful. If we bring up the, what is it? Active Forces tab, and here you can, oh, you can actually see that the active forces for the Zerg is higher. Interesting. Even after losing all those Zerglings. Which means you probably have some high-tech units somewhere that we're not seeing. A lot of mutas. They are probably expensive for supply. Yeah, 16 mutas, 4 corruptors. Okay, this is trouble. And we remember that Empty Seat is heavy on the Adepts and Zealots, which is not going to help versus the Mutalisks. Single High Templar. It does have Storm upgrade as well. Even without Storm, I like High Templar with bots, just because you can always just do an insta feedback every time something with energy gets in range, and that's quite a powerful effect. One of those spells it's hard to pull off as a human, but as a bot, it's like, hey, it's powerful. It's only 50 energy, so you don't even need many Templar. Just 1 or 2 is fine. And it just completely obliterates the abilities of the spellcasters on the other side. As long as you have them coded well. So, Nickbot is on a solid 6 base economy here. I think we are going to speed this up a bit. Some bots GG out when they're getting low, but a lot of bots don't do that. You know, usually there's about 100 things on your to-do list you want to do for your bot, so making it lose gracefully isn't actually something that makes your bot stronger. In fact, it's only something that can bug out and make you lose games that you should have won. So it's pretty rare to see GGs coming out of bots. I would say maybe 10% of them do it. I hear before my time, but there was a tournament game where a bot was in like a draw situation or it was winning, and it thought that it was about to lose, so it GG'd and left the game. Yes, nice little high-tech composition here. I see what the air upgrades were for on the Spire now with this massive Mutaflock, which is down to 7. But even Broodlords. Increase that Broodlord damage. With the melee upgrades to even help with the Broodling damage. Broodlords must have the most upgrades of any unit in the game. Because it gets air attack upgrades, and then it also gets ground melee upgrades. Both of that help it. And this will be the end of the mining out of Nickbot, or out of Empty Seat. Final units game picked off. Doesn't look like there's any storms able to be cast out of Empty Seat, so he's coded the ability to make the Templar, but not the ability to find good storm targets. And there we have it. Nickbot Zerg winning its second match and moving on. So with that, we'll call it the end of this video here, and we'll pick up where we left off last time. So once again, Nickbot Zerg beating both Newbie and Empty Seat. Next up is Base Cannon, which sounds like a cannon rushing bot, and we will be seeing cannon rushing bots, but I think he's more of a cannon defense sort of bot, which is interesting. Krogoth, one of my Jabba brothers, will be next with Kai, and following that will be Nickbot Learn. So let's see if Nickbot can get into a self-kill situation, if he can get by the next 2 targets here. Yeah, so we'll see that in the next video. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'm out of here. Goodbye.